Round 15 team list. So come on in here for the ideas. Go have a look at those players yourself and then come back to us tomorrow with the buy, hold, risk it and sell. And that's basically how this goes out. I'll throw a little idea into your head and then we'll see how it goes. But great to see these faces on my screen there. The three of the good looking lads in the league there, Murray, Hines and Johnson. They are all back, and Murray off the bench actually. So pretty interesting. But unfortunately for me, that spells sad news for Daniel Atkinson, who has played so well. Trindle has his off-field incident. Yes, I'm salty. And then comes straight back into this side along with Nico. And they were the combo that worked really, really well at the beginning of the year. So I do understand, but Atkinson unfortunately ends up in reserves number 18. And that also means that he misses 15 and he misses 16. And if anything happens to Nico during the week, obviously Atkinson will come back into the side there. Or Trindle anyway. And then we'll see, obviously, that I won't have to trade, that make that extra trade to get to 17 this week. But that's probably the most interesting news here on the Sharkies. And if you held on to Hines, you're likely to get a good score this week up against the Dolphins in that first game on Thursday night. Outside of that information there's really not too much else to say on the Sharkies because I don't think any of them are a buy given they missed 16 and 20. So not a squad I'd be looking at right now, that's for sure. So we'll leave that one there. All the rest of the guys are holds in Nickera, in obviously Kale Iro there. I wouldn't be looking at Ronaldo, even though this is the combination that worked best at the beginning of the year with Hines and Trindle. I think still with that buy next week, you don't want to look at him, and maybe you look at him in 17 as a slightly different option. Obviously, a bit more of an option in SuperCoach. And Talakai obviously gets that spot on the edge again. We still don't see Teague Wilton in the reserve, so maybe it's another couple of weeks, but I think you're a game person to take that plunge, that's for sure. And maybe little Oregon Kafusi there, definitely not little, maybe a sell. But you could wait this week and then make that decision. For the Finns there, we do see Hammer at the back, which is sad for me as a Fuller owner, but he's still in the 22 jersey and will be back in that spot next week. We do not see TPJ as of yet, so a little bit away still. We basically see the same squad that, played obviously in round 13 there. And if you're holding a Sarko, if you're looking to potentially buy a Farnworth, I completely understand that one for sure. That makes sense in the centers there. Isaiah Katoa you'd be holding. If you want to buy Jeremy Marshall-King as around 16 hooker, that's good. You and Aitken obviously a buy there as well. Lemuelu, you can do that as well. He's just named to start with Felicia Kafusi actually just straight up named in the 10 jersey as well, and then Plath, you can do what you wish there as well if you want to buy. That works as well. Onto the Raiders and the Cows. Raiders become a little bit more interesting now after their bye, so definitely have a look at Joe Tarpany if that works for you. Obviously in that starting jersey there. They still have a lot of middles on their bench with Atam Mariota. You got Trey Mooney and obviously Emre Gula as well. And we know that means that minutes won't be crazy. They should still be around that 50 odd like they were his last game. But remember that last game included some overtime, some extra time there as well, which got him a few extra points there as well. If you're holding Smithies, then that's cool. You can do that. I do understand. I think most people would have sold him last week if he was on their chopping block. Anyway, Matt Timoko, potentially a center option. If you wanted to go him, he's dropped a little bit in cash. Make sure you have weeks. Strange, I think you can hold now. If you waited this far, I think you'll score pretty well against the Cowboys here. And that right-hand side defense of, Chatty, Nanai at least will be there. But then you've got Valea and then Caulfield. I think he'll be able to score pretty well this week. So I'd be holding, especially with, some issues in center/half. And you got that duel, which is really cool for next week. From the Cows side of the ball, no one's a buy at this point. You've got Finna Furiaki back on the interchange bench, which is probably the biggest news there. As I mentioned in one of the previous videos, you can hold this week and then potentially sell next week if you need a number, if you need a green dot without wanting to use a trade. He's scored well enough the last few weeks that he won't lose cash, even playing 30 minutes and getting 20 odd points. Those points are going to be helpful and he won't go down too much in cash. And if he happens to bag a try off the bench, then he'll be able to score really well for your side in this week. Ruben Cotter is actually in the 10 jersey now with Tamalolo in the 13. So a small change there. Don't think it matters too much. Really, they're going to be playing the same role as they do on a weekly basis there. And then Drinkwater is probably the main hold over the bye period. We see Robson returning as well. Lukey, hold on to him if you've got him right now. Alrighty, let's go on to the next game there. Bunnies up against the Broncos, and we saw Latrell absolutely dominate last week, and I'm glad to see that 99 out of the way, and hopefully it's a little bit lower from here on in, because if you are looking to buy him, I think it's a very big risk. If he doesn't make Origin this time, I think you buy him next week, even though he'll be over 800k, to be fair, after this week. But hopefully the Broncos kind of turn things around, and him and Whiten, for my sake, don't go incredibly well. If you want to go Whiten, just be aware that there was bulk attacking stats in the back end of that game, which he benefited from. Otherwise, he would have got 30 odd. And, there are going to be games where base stats will be up a little bit higher, but just be aware that Latrell Mitchell is doing the bulk of the kicking there, and Whiten and Walker aren't. So if you wanted to go those guys, just remember that maybe without Latrell as well, they don't go as well. So that to think about. They'll get more kick meters, but maybe the team won't go as well without Latrell if he's in Origin. But yeah, just something to note with those two. And then we do see the return of Cam Murray actually off the bench. So I think that's a good idea for him to come back through that way, play 30 odd minutes, 50 minutes, whatever they decide to do for Cam Murray there, and build him back into his work slow and steadily, with Silva Havili unfortunately out, succumbing to that calf injury that he had last game. So Keon Kolomatangi, if you didn't buy last week, I don't think you'll go out buying now. And yeah, it's probably the only real news there, with Damien Cook still playing the good bulk of the minutes there, with Davi Moale getting good minutes and a good score last week. For the Bronx, they still have round 16 bye, and then they're a team that you want to look at a little bit further. So right now, not one to look too deeply into. You're holding Piakura. He's doing good things. You got Carrigan and also Payne Haas as well. Obviously, Origin guys, and that's where you want to leave that at the moment, not buying them. If you're holding them, awesome. Get a good score now and then decide next week what you want to do. Xavier Wilson returns this week as well. If you are still holding on, I would stick into holding on to him, given he'll play 17, 18, 19, 20 and be pretty important, especially in round 19. I think he'll get some good minutes there and do good work. Fletcher Baker drops out of the side into the reserves there with Karapani in 18. All right, the Tigers team list. This is the big one here, and they've decided to have Buller in the 21. I'm not sure what the reasoning is. Oh, actually, do I? Not sure. Someone will tell me in the comments. I think I've got a feeling, but I'm not sure. Anyway, Alex Lobb keeps his spot. Staines back on the bench. Brett Naden back in the centres. So there's a few changes there in that one. With Galvin being out, Api Coruscant goes to 7, and he actually scores really, really well at 7, especially against the Titans team. I think it's going to be a good little pickup there in his scoring. I wouldn't go out and buy him per se. Like, there is a small chance he plays Origin. I still think it's small, 10 or so %. But the big news here, there's a couple of big news actually in this team, is Alex Seyfarth's been moved back to the bench. I'm not sure if that's going to happen on game day. They got Fa'atape there as backs cover. With Seyfarth on the bench, actually, I think that's really, really helpful for someone like Samuel Afinu, with Fa'atape as interchange, as a guy that can cover the backs. If they have an injury out there, he won't have to go out to the centres, most likely, and hopefully that's the case anyway, because he scored really well last week, and 12's actually been named, so there is a chance he doesn't back up, but the news was really, really good based on his foot. And you still got Stefano in there as a potential option. Seyfarth now, if you own him, awesome. Like, you got a good score last week. Hopefully he still plays big minutes there off the bench, or he moves into that starting side for Fanua Pole, who I wasn't sure that was going to be the play. Seyfarth, I think, played a good game last week, so strange to see that he's actually been dropped to the bench. But the big news here is Talon De Silva. So for anyone that was potentially looking at a hooker for round 16, he is potentially the guy, and I do think there's a high chance he plays 80 minutes in this one if this is how it runs out. And he's actually someone that I'll be looking at personally as a downgrade from an Atkinson or a Sam Hughes for my side. Gives me another number for next week, and I think he'll score well this week as well. And we'll have a look at his stats tomorrow, but just someone to have a look at yourself there. And then have a look at Appy's stats at 7. It's pretty incredible with that goal kicking as well. So yeah, I do think in this pack it's Fainu or Utokumanu, the only two you want to probably look at this stage. And how exciting is this? We've got Adam Dewey in reserves in number 23, so a very much a fan favourite of myself and a lot of people there. Just very, very exciting to see him there. Aiden Caesar's back as well, obviously. He'll partner Coruscant and they'll split that work there, but just great to see Adam Dewey back playing footy, and hopefully over the next few weeks he gets a spot on this interchange bench or potentially in at centre or something like that. I think he could definitely fit in there nicely instead of a Naden or Staines. They move things around like that. Would be really, really cool to see him back out there playing. For the Titans there, you still see Campbell in the 6 jersey, Tanner Boyd sticking in the reserve, so they've decided to keep him away from the side for now. and we'll see if that continues. But interchange bench has Verrills, Liu, Palacia and Clark, with Cleese starting in the 13 and both for more in the 12 jersey. That's with Phil Sami returning. So if Sami plays there, things should stay exactly as is. If you want to go for Campbell, that's cool. Do that. We still don't see Brimson or anything too close, so you're still a few weeks away. So yeah, that's probably the main news there. And then for feeder, if you didn't grab last week, you could definitely jump on this week here as well. For the Wars up against the Storm, we do have the big change of the week, because obviously SJ back into the side. Tomato Martin moves into the 6 jersey, which is going to be fun there as well after his incredible month of footy and the Warriors winning games. It's going to be a really, really good one to watch there. We do see Remus Smith out of this game on the other side with Dean Iramia coming into the centres there, so that right side will stay the same. And then Dean Iramia comes in on the left-hand side with Xavier Coates there, which I think is very, very helpful having him there, because you got Blore and then Wishart as well down that side. To continue on with the Storm while we're here, obviously Tyron Wishart are still a decent buy this week. I'm looking at him myself, but if I do go Talon de Silva, I think I could potentially go higher than Wishart for someone that I'm going to hold for the rest of the year, rather than someone I will have to trade out by round either 19 or 20, 21, something like that. Jerome Hughes, a great purchase still. If you've got Blore, hold on. Eli Katoa, still a good purchase as well. I do have Joe Chan on the bench, so if you're still holding on to Joey, then still getting a few minutes there, obviously. For the Warriors, I got Tohu Harris starting at 13. I'm not sure if that'll change again for Dylan Walker come game day. It obviously has been working in recent history with him out, and obviously SJ out as well. So I wonder if that changes how they play, or they go back into a really, really good rhythm, and even better rhythm than where they were, now that they've built that up, and then just slot SJ back in there, and he'll do great work. So super excited to see him back. He's obviously someone to look at. Adam Fanua-Blake is as well. And then Murata Niukore, hopefully some bigger minutes for him as he continues to work back from his injuries that he's had. But you got Kurt Capewell there that'll play some edge, obviously, for sure. Yeah, nothing else on the Storm side. We move to the Eels up against the Roosters. And for the Eels, not too much changes. Mike Acevo does return. Blaze Talangi keeps his spot on the wing there. And yeah, that's the biggest sort of change there. That Blaze actually keeps his spot. Brown and Moses keep kicking on. There's no Lustig on the bench for Hands at the moment until someone pulls out, as they always do. Cartwright and Tuolangi, if you haven't got on them yet, I do think you hold off now, but any holders just keep going. Hopgood apparently was a bit of a back issue post-Origin, so that's why he played less minutes, and hopefully, he can go back to some bigger minutes and get a good score. And if you do own, I'd be holding. Dejan Arce, who played centres last week, moves back to 14. I think he's a really terrific 14 for this side. He can obviously come in at hooker if things don't go great there for Hands, or if he gets injured or something like that. They at least have some type of cover that they can move some players around. So that's the Eels, but the big news here for the Roosters, obviously Tedesco, you get him back this week after missing 2 weeks of footy for the Roosters. And then the question is, does he make Origin? We've got Edwards coming back this week as well, which is good for him. But we just see Pauga still in the centres there with Suoli out. Joseph Manu was a terrific purchase if you want to grab him. And then Dom Young doing good things. I wouldn't buy this week. He's in the same boat as Sam Walker. Just hold on to those two. The big news here is Connor Watson back in the 9 jersey with Brandon Smith out of this side for now. I'm not exactly sure the extent of what's going on with his situation, but this is where they were, how it was running out anyway before, when Brandon Smith was in the team anyway. So Connor Watson, big minutes in that 9 jersey. I think there's a good chance that he either split some time at 9 and 13, with Nafahu White being the 13 at the moment. I think it's very, very high likelihood if they're going to keep Victor Radley on that edge, sort of playing that butcher through the middle along with Lenu and May. Potentially, give one of those guys a rest if they need it, but I think that's how they'll play it out, and I think Connor Watson's going to continue to score great. I really want him in my side. The main issue that I have with this situation is actually Origin. I'm not worried about him scoring well. I'm not worried about him playing big minutes, because I think that'll happen. It's more the fact that if he makes Origin, because if he does, that's obviously an extra week out just straight after buying him. He's 780k in the midsection as well. I'd definitely look at him, guys. If you want to, there's a risk waiting for you there that could really pay off for sure, and he can go really, really big. But yeah, that's that. Last couple of games, Eagles up against the Dragons. Hopewadi keeps his spot at 1, so that spells the question now of, do you look to sell Kolar? And I know a lot of people will, and I won't talk you out of it. I think it's fine to sell. I also think it's fine to hold as well, given he plays round 16 and round 19, two very important matchups, and he has center and wing fullback dual. So if you get an injury or something like that to someone unexpected, he can just slot right in for you. Ruben Garrick there, he comes up against the Dragons, so hopefully he's got his kicking tee going well, and he can score some tries as well. So yeah, really good purchase this week as well if you haven't got him. Tommy Talau, the question everyone's asking, is he a buy? I spoke about him last week as a risky buy, and that could pay off, and it did, that's for sure, and it could continue to pay off, but he's getting expensive now. I think he's like 500k, so it's hard to buy him now, but I do understand why people might want to. You actually see Nathan Brown come in and start this week, Taniela Paseka joining him. Olakwatu named to play. Good news for him on that front, that hopefully it was just a precautionary thing, and he'll be back in good pasture here. Still don't see Lockie Croker, which is really, really sad, and I hope he's okay there. Tough sort of month or so for him. I hope he's doing okay. That's probably it there. Ben Trebojevic, if you're still holding on to him, good stuff right now. For the Dragons there, you've got really no changes there in the back line, with Zach Lomax still doing great things. If you've got him, still keep holding on. In the forwards, Jaden Sewer back into the start there. Raymond Faitala-Mariner back to the bench. Jacob Little you could purchase, obviously, but misses 16-20. Not ideal. Hopefully DeBellin for owners get some good minutes again. That's it. No Dragons I'd be buying. And then the Knights and the Panthers. So Fletcher Sharp keeps his spot there in the starting jersey. Well, I don't know what's going on with Armstrong. He rejected the Roosters, and then he re-signed for 2 years with the Knights, and now he's asked for a release again. So I'm not sure if they've signed him, and then they've told him one thing, and then they've come out and told him something different. That would be super frustrating if that's happened at this club, because he's a good young talent, and if you've re-signed him, there would have been hope that he would be in this team playing. But we don't know everything behind the scenes. But Armstrong named in 22 with Fletcher Sharp in that one jersey. It could just be because he's coming back from that quad injury, but we're unsure at this stage. And it's a weird situation. But if you do own Armstrong, I do think he's worth selling. I don't see him coming in for Sharp this game, given he played really, really well last week. So I'm looking to sell Armstrong for sure. I'd sell Atkinson before I'd sell Armstrong. Obviously, if he is actually out this week. So, there's that. He could definitely come back in, but he might also not be a chance to come back in. So, there's that to think about. Bradman Bestright does return, which is good for him. Dane Gagai, obviously a keeper centre. He just misses 16, and that's it going forward. Something to note there. Dylan Lucas on the bench. Just the big news for the Knights, really. And thankfully, Brayley is starting for now. Unfortunately, it's one of the second last game of the week, or last game of the week, I should say, for the Knights there. So we don't even know if he's going to be benched or whatever. But hopefully, maybe it was a sickness or something on a couple of days before he was, and that's why they played him less minutes, or they wanted him ready for this week coming up. I'm not sure, but hopefully it's big minutes this week and big tackle numbers for Jaden Brayley. But Frizzell partnering Kaipius Paul, good for Kaipius Paul owners, not so good for Lucas owners, who did really well last week, and hopefully he does, for owners, he ends up in that starting side and does some good work for you. But outside of that, not much has changed for the Knights. I'd still be holding Lucas, even if he plays off the bench. See what happens this week, and everything can happen over the next few weeks for sure. And the big Panthers news, obviously Jack Cole keeps his spot, which is really, really good. Edwards returns at 1, which is the other big news there, so exciting times for him. Sorensen partners Garner, and we see Liam Martin on the reserve. So we'll see if he actually comes in. I think there's a good chance he does. If he's fit and firing, he'll want a game, or at least a game off the bench leading into Origin, I think for sure. Or, Coach Maguire would want that. Isaiah Yeo, cracking captaincy option this week, just like he was last week there, but expect a full 80 this week. And when backing up, maybe 60 or something like that if they continue to play the later games of the week. Liam Henry, a bit too late to buy. Unfortunately, he's like mid 500s. It's crazy. Gone up 70 odd K the last bunch of weeks. Doing great work there, and a big bench there as well. So that's probably all we need to say on the team list. As I said, we get into the buy, hold, sell. We'll get Matt back hopefully tomorrow. We'll see. I haven't messaged him yet, but we'll see if we can get him back. We'll talk to Scoop tomorrow night and get everything out there as soon as possible for you guys, leading into round 15 and 16. Two really important rounds there. A few people are running out of trades, which is fun in itself, and hopefully you stick around until you get those extra 8. And even if you want to use those 8 trades in round 20 and 21, that's also fun as well. So thanks for being here, guys, and we'll catch you in those next videos tomorrow.